The other day, there was a funeral of a police officer. This police officer was known in the entire Brooklyn as the one who gave the most tickets during his tenure. Each week, he managed to collect for the city close to 1,000 tickets. Any one of you who lives in Brooklyn must have encountered him more than once, and finally his time came and he was summoned to heaven. They eulogized him as the man who kept the streets of Brooklyn safe, who sacrificed himself to make sure people drive legally and safely, who brought in hundreds of millions of dollars to the Kupas Hayir, to the Casa of New York. It was a wonderful, traditional Catholic funeral, as he was a Catholic. And finally, after many eulogies, they lowered the coffin into the grave. And the priest, the Catholic priest, goes down into the grave to say last prayers. And suddenly he hears a voice from the coffin. The police officer is like, "Father, I'm alive, get me out of here." And he says, "Sorry, pal, I already began the paperwork." If you don't live in Brooklyn, it's hard to understand. That's anecdote number one I want to share with you. Anecdote number two, I heard Avi said you came here to have fun. A Jew, also from Brooklyn, calls up Mitzvah Shabbos. As you know, there's a mitzvah. I'm not sure if it's a Dairais or the Rabbanon, but it's one of the two. It's a mitzvah to eat pizza. Lasagna is close. It's close since you're twisted, so you're doing lasagna instead of pizza. Sure. Mela, the Eibusher should be moichel. She could be Yotze Melava Malka, but perhaps. So this Jew calls up Gordon's Pizza. And the person who answers the phone says, "Hi, Google's Pizza?" He says, "No, Gordon's Pizza." I had a wrong number. He says, No, Google's Pizza." He says, "No, I wanted to call Gordon's Pizza." He says, "Google bought off Gordon's Pizza, now Google owns the pizza shop." He says, "Really? Google now owns pizza shops?" "Of course." "Why are you calling? Do you want to make an order?" He says, "I would like to make an order." The man says, "Would you like to order the same thing you've been ordering the last 17 years on Saturday night?" He says, "How in the world do you know what I've been ordering?" He says, "Well, this is Google. We hooked into the data of all your orders the last 17 years. Do you want the same thing?" He says, "You know what I ordered?" "Of course." "You order a whole pie, thick crust of white flour, extra cheese with ketchup, 3 cans of Coke, vanilla ice cream, and cheesecake after the pizza. Is that what you want?" He says, "Exactly." The man says, "Can I suggest, politely, that you change your order based on your high cholesterol?" He says, "How in the world do you know my cholesterol?" He says, "Well, we have everything interconnected, and I see your medical records, and your cholesterol is dangerously high. I suggest gluten-free, thin crust, instead of cheese, olives, kale, spinach, celery. Instead of Coke, water. Get rid of the cheesecake." And the man says, "You stop mixing into my personal business. I take care of my cholesterol." He says, "How?" "I take tablets." He says, "You haven't taken them for 8 months." "How do you know, how do you know?" He says, "Well, I have the records here of your pharmacy. The last time you went in and that credit card was swiped for those tablets was 8 months ago." He says, "This is horrible." He says, "Sorry, it's all for your benefit. We are here, Google is here for you, to give you long life." He says, "How do you know how I pay?" He says, "Well, how else do you pay for these tablets?" "I paid with cash." He said, no, there has not been enough cash withdrawal in the last 8 months from ATM machines or from the bank to justify the purchase of these tablets, which means your cholesterol is not being taken care of, which means you should take a gluten-free crust for tonight's pizza. He says, I have other sources of cash without withdrawal. He says, well, I'm looking at your tax returns, and you did not declare other sources of cash in the last 8 months, which means there is a source of revenue not being reported to the IRS, which means you're fighting the law of the United States of America, which translates in the fact that you will be indicted next week. And this poor Jew at this point, exasperated, destroyed, starts hollering, you're making me sick. I called for a pizza and I end up being indicted next week. That's it. I'm had enough with Google. I will be moving out of this country. I'm going to move to an island where there's no Google, there's no technology. I can finally get my life back. Man says, I'm sorry, but your passport expired 6 weeks ago. These are two anecdotes, but they capture a certain psychology of people. And tonight, I want to raise a question with all of you. The question is probably a question that every Jew who thinks asks himself or herself, and that is, we all know that landing is extremely important. A good pilot, you know from how he lands. It's not only true when you're flying a plane, it's true when you're giving a speech. There's people who know how to take off, they don't know how to land, like most rabbis. I once heard an introduction to a speaker. The MC said, this speaker doesn't need an introduction, he needs an ending. The Gemara says in Brachas, I think Yud Beis, Hakal hoylech achar achitu. You got to look at the punchline, the culmination. The businessmen know you have to look at the sach hakal, the tamtzis. What's the punchline? If you're giving a joke and you don't get the punchline right, it's all worthless. That's why there's a klal in halacha mesayim b'toiv. The punchline has to be positive, to the extent that Tosfos at the end of Masechta Nida, the end of the whole Shah, says that the reason the Gemara ends with Tana Devel Yokal Ashayna Alachas B'chol Yod Muftach Leishol Bein Elam Haba, which does not belong in the Gemara, is because the Shas wants to complete itself on a high note, on a positive note. That's what Tosfos and the other Rishonim say. The whole Shas, you want to end off with a positive punchline. The sugya before, Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish, Nid Zava, is not exactly the most positive phenomenon. We change the subject and we finish with something out of context. If so, I ask you tonight the following question. If this is true with a drasha, speakers darshanim for generations would finish Uvolet Tzion Goyel, V'noimar Amen, and the crowd would say Baruch Shepatrani. Everyone knew you finish. A Jew finishes on a positive note. A sefer finishes on a positive. One exception, and that is the book of all books, the Sefer HaSfarim, as it's called in the world, or as it's called in our circles, Chamisha Chumshei Torah, or the Torah HaKadoshah. How does it finish? Moshe Rabbeinu passes away, and the Torah gives a hesped, a eulogy on Moshe. The Gemara in Melava wants to know who wrote this eulogy. Was it Moshe who wrote it in tears, or was it perhaps Yehoshua? The end of the Sefer Torah was not written by Moshe because he wasn't around anymore. Like Kam Navi Ke Moshe, there was no prophet like Moshe. When you read it on Simchas Torah, it's moving. We lived with Moshe for almost a whole year, and it's time to say goodbye. Like Kam Navi Ke Moshe, Sheidoy Hashem Panim Al Panim, L'chol Oises V'Amoisim, all the miracles, and then you come to the last pasuk. U'Lechoil Hayad HaChazaka Asher Asa Moshe Le'enei Kol Yisrael. The end of Chumash. To the strong arm which Moshe performed before the eyes of all of the Jewish people, all of Israel. Le'enei Kol Yisrael. So Rashi goes through the Oises and the Moifsim and the Yad HaChazaka Asher Asa Moshe. He took them out of Mitzrayim and he gave them the Torah and he led them through the desert for 40 years and he brought the Makkahs. What's La'einei Kol Yisrael? What did he do before the eyes of the Jewish people? What did he do in front of everybody? Everybody saw him doing it. And the answer of Rashi is, what did he do? It says in Parshas Eikev, I came down with 2 luchas and I saw that you created a golden calf. Ve'etvoy says haluchos b'shtei yadai v'ashabrei le'einech. I broke the luchas before your eyes. Le'einei kol Yisrael, Zok Rashi, shenisoi liboy. Moshe's heart was uplifted. Lishboy haluchos le'einei. To break the luchas before their eyes. Shenemar v'ashabrim le'einech. And I ask you a question. Moshe had to break the luchas. Isn't that the most tragic part of his life? Should that be the peak, the crescendo, the zenith? Moshe took them out of Egypt. He gave them a Torah. He was the greatest Navi. He was the shepherd of the Jewish people. He made them a nation. Imagine you're eulogizing a surgeon in New York, NYU, who did surgeries for 40 years. And people come and they talk about this great man. And they speak about the fact that he saved this one and this one and that one and that one. And finally, the last speech of the great orator who's going to explore and examine what this man did. And he said, I want to tell you that the other day, Yankel Finkelstein was very ill, and this doctor came in, and you know what he did? He amputated both of his legs. And then he amputated an arm, and he did some other stuff, and he sent him home. And you're like, never, he had to do it. But how many bodies, how many lives did he save? How many amputations did he avoid? Breaking of the luchas was the lowest point in Moshe's life. Tragically, he needed to break the luchas because of the Chet HaEgel. You can't find anything better with which to end and reach the peak of his achievements and the end of the whole Torah. Besides breaking of the luchas, because they worshipped Avodah Zarah 40 days after they got married, in middle of the honeymoon, and everybody screams, Chazak, Chazak, v'nis chazek. How can we understand this? And when you look in Rashi, you think at least Rashi would finish on a positive note. So Rashi says, V'af HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his schema daite l'das Moshe, Hashem agreed with him, shenemar, Asher Sheshibarta, Zok Rashi, Yasher Koach Sheshibarta. The Rebbeinu Shalom told Moshe, thank you, strength unto you for breaking the luchas. Rashi at least could have done Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu al ma Sheshibarta Yasher Koach. That would be a nice ending. No, the last word of Chumash, the last word of Rashi, Sheshibarta. A good kasha, eh? A good shaila? So let me tell you the explanation, my dear friends. The explanation is, I always wondered, I had a klutz kash. I travel a lot. Jews are paranoid people. Are you familiar with that? A Jew once told me, just because I'm paranoid, it doesn't mean the whole world is not out to get me. When it comes to a Jew who has a medical problem, he doesn't go to any doctor. Every Jew says, the best. Not the best in New York, chas v'sholom. Not the best in America. The best, not even on the planet, the best in the universe. That's the fact. There was a Jew who once came to a big, big cardiologist. A Yid who was on food stamps, all the good programs. And he goes to this great cardiologist, comes out, he had to have a checkup. What's the bill? $20,000. He looks at the doctor, Mr. Shir, an hour, $20,000. I'm the greatest doctor in the world. This is a discount already. He said, I'm not giving you $20,000. I don't have $20,000. Even if I would have, I would never give you $20,000. The doctor says, I'm sorry, this is the price. He says, forget it. Give me a discount. He says, give me 10 and get out of here. He says, $10,000 for a stupid hour? Who makes $10,000 an hour? It's Mashiach. The doctor is like, you're wasting now give me $5,000 and get out of here. He says, no way. $5,000 for an hour? I make $9 an hour. I'll give you $9 for your hour. He says, you're crazy. I'm the greatest doctor. I was in medical school for 25 years. I'm the best of the best. Everyone comes to me. He says, sorry, I don't have $5,000 to give you. He says, give me $1,000 and out. He says, no way. I'll give you $180. I'm a nice guy. I'll give you $180. He says, so little? He says, that's all I can afford. Even that I can't afford. He says, I don't understand. Why do you come to the most expensive physician in the world when this is your financial situation? He says, Doc, when it comes to my health, money is not an issue. It's not an issue. That's the mentality. Chalila, you have a loved one who needs medical help. You don't open a telephone book. Cardiologist, Dr. Goldberg, here, schedule a surgery. You call Relief, you call Echo, you call every Askin, you call every activist. You call your friends, you call the Gvirim, you call Atzoli, you don't call Misaskim, you call Meshoirim, Mezamrim, Mesamchim, Tanses. You call every Askin, every conceivable Askin, but he wants to be an Askin. You call everybody, you want the best of the best of the best. You don't let anybody just do a surgery, chas v'shalom, on your child, on your spouse, on your sibling, on your loved one. So now I'm going to ask you a klotz kasha. I fly all the time, and the other day I was standing and I was about to go up on a Delta airplane, and I thought to myself, I'm also a paranoid Jew. Shouldn't I do some research on the pilot? Why don't I know any Jew calling Delta, United, or US Air, or JetBlue, and saying, I'm flying Sunday 9 o'clock to Miami. I want to have in my email box everything about the pilot. Flight 47. I want to know where he went to school, which yeshiva he graduated, which teachers came in contact with him, who's a shver, who's a shviger, how many times did he fly. I want a list of at least 100 names who flew with him so I could call them and ask about the flight experience. I never saw anybody do this. Why not? Friends, after meditating and contemplating on this, I discovered a genius answer. And the answer is, a doctor, if he's unsuccessful with his surgery, you know what happens? He looks at the family members and he says, I'm so sorry. He's gone. He signs the death certificate, lo yaleinu v'lo yalecha. He goes home and he still drinks his iced coffee, reading the Wall Street Journal on the couch. Not because he's not a good guy, but because he didn't go under the knife. The patient went under the knife. If it's successful, great. If not, things happen. People don't live forever. But what about a pilot? If the pilot doesn't know what he's doing, he goes down with you. If I'm a passenger in the plane and this pilot doesn't know what he's doing, I'm not the only one going down. He's going down. He's not going to drink his latte that night in Starbucks. He's done, together with his passengers. Those are people we trust. A surgeon, you got to make sure he's good. A pilot, you can trust, because he's with you on the journey. And here, I share with you an insight. It's going to be hard for some of you in the crowd to believe that this says, so that's why I always give references. Reb Tzadok HaKohen of Lublin has a sefer called Tzidkas HaTzadik. In Oish Kuf Nun Vav, I believe, he says something. And then I was reading once a commentary of the Kamarner, the holy Kamarner Rebbe, called Kesem Oifir on Megillas Esther. Says almost the same thing verbatim, even though they didn't see each other, on the pasuk Vayaver Mordechai in Megillas Esther. Reb Tzadok and the Kamarner say the same thing. And this is what they say. The Jewish people create a golden calf. They worship idolatry. The Rebbeinu Shalom tells Moshe, Lech go down. Ki shiches amcha, your nation became corrupted. I don't want to deal with them. They're hopeless. I'm done with them. They're finished. They're not Jews anymore. Within the honeymoon, they went to somebody else. Let's start all over again. We'll press Control, Alt, Delete, and create a new Jewish people. Moshe understood the struggle. Usually, he could stand up for the people. But here, he was on top of a mountain. He wasn't even there. He didn't see it. He didn't observe it. He wasn't part of it. He didn't even have a chance to protest, to say, Kol mi sheyesh biyado limchas v'lo micha, carries responsibility. He was on the top of the mountain. He was the peak of holiness, and they were in the depth of the abyss. And Moshe understood, says Reb Tzadok, that you could never, ever help somebody if you don't go into their world. The Baal Shem Tov says, the Toldus Yaakov Yosef brings, the Gemara, the Mishnah says in Rosh Hashanah, the last page, Kol mi she'enei mechuyev b'davar, einei moitzei es HaRav yedei chevasa. Literally it means, if somebody is not obligated to do a mitzvah, he can do the mitzvah for other people, for example. If I'm not obligated to blow shofar or read the Megillah, I can do it for you. Says the Baal Shem Tov, Kol mi she'enei mechuyev b'davar. Mechuyev means guilty. Mechuyev means guilty. Chayav. Whoever is not guilty in something, einei moitzei es HaRav yedei chevasa, he can't take out the people from their guilt. And he gives an example that he heard from the Baal Shem Tov. A lifeguard who wants to sit on the throne by the ocean and is not ready to jump into the sea or to the beach will never be able to schlep out the person drowning. Somebody is in a pit full of rubble, debris, and filth, and dirt, and muck. I can't stand and say, hey, come out. I have to go in and get filthy and dirty in order to be able to schlep them out. If I'm not mechuyev, if I'm not guilty, if I'm not connected to your reality, I remain aloof. I can't sit on an ivory tower and say, hey, come out, you idiot. I'm waiting for you. No, no, no. You want to be moitzi the Rabbi Yedei Chevosam? They have to connect to you. I can't be a surgeon. I have to be a pilot. I have to go up with you, but I have to go down with you. Says Reb Tzadok HaKohen, Moshe was a leader. He wasn't a surgeon. He was a pilot. But here he couldn't be a pilot. You know why? He was on the mountain. He wasn't there. He didn't understand what it is. He was disconnected from them. He was on top of a high Sinai. So Moshe asked himself the question, I need to schlep them out. I'm their father, I'm their shepherd, I'm their leader. But how? I don't even understand them. I can't even connect to them. I don't know what they're going through. So Moshe thinks to himself, and then he realized there's only one solution. And what was the solution? The solution was for him to break the luchas. Everybody asks the question, almost everyone, why did he break the luchas? The Jews didn't deserve the luchas? Don't give it to them. Give it back to Hashem. Put it in your tent. I would sell it on eBay. Imagine, let's say you have a 25th anniversary. And you buy your husband, not stam a gift, the gift of his lifetime. Cost you $12,000. Your husband comes home that night with an attitude. But not stam an attitude. Top level attitude. Okay. So what do? You throw the gift in the garbage? No! You sell it. You sell it. You buy your wife a tennis bracelet for $24,000. Yeah? And then something happens. Whatever, we're not going to get graphic here. You burn it, you destroy it. No, you sell it. You keep it for better days. Was brechst du the luchas? Ha-luchas ma'aseh lekim heima. Hashem gives you luchas that he made. It's priceless. What are you breaking them for? Hide them in the tent. Put them on the mountain. Give them back to Hashem. They don't even belong to you. Was brechst du the luchas? Says Reb Tzadok HaKohen and the Kamarner, open your hearts. The Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos Daf Kuf Daled, HaMeshaber Kelim B'Chamasoi Harehu Ka'ovid Avodah Zarah. Somebody who takes vessels and breaks them in his wrath, in his anger, It's a subtle form of idolatry, of Avodah Zarah. So Moshe took the luchas and he broke them in his anger. Not just any keli, the keli, the most priceless keli. What happened at that moment? Harehu kivayochel bedakus in an edel way. He went into the world of the Jewish people, the world of Avodah Zarah. Now he wasn't a surgeon. Now he was a pilot. Lech, God told him. The only way this is going to work is if you fall down, if you go down. Once he was there, he looked at Hashem and he said, now, you're not giving up on me. I'm coming up. They're coming up with me. And he brought them all up. Now when we want to talk about Moshe Rabbeinu's greatness, we ask, what was his greatest moment? I would say, he turned them into a people. He took slaves and made them a people. He is the one who gave Torah to the Jewish people. He was the messenger of Hashem to give Torah and change the world forever. He led them through a midbar, Kriyas Yamsuf, 10 Makas, Man, Kovet, Be'er, Shomiriam, the greatest teacher, the greatest educator. No. You want the crescendo. You want the peak. You want the highest moment of Moshe's life? La'ene kol Yisrael. Nisoi liboy. His heart lifted him up. For this he had to have a big heart. His heart had to go higher. Lishbar haluchos le'neihem. That at the moment of truth he was ready to break what? He didn't break a tennis bracelet. He didn't break an expensive utensil or vehicle or piece of jewelry or garment. He broke something which for him was the most precious thing in the universe. Zichru Torahs Moshe Avdi. Moshe is Torah. Torah is Moshe. The luchas were Moshe. Moshe was the luchas, Chazal say. And not just Torah. This is the only luchas that Hashem himself sculptured and wrote. And yet at that moment he had to make a choice. And the choice was, does he hold on to the luchas and lose his children? Or does he break the luchas and liberate, embrace, lift up, and remain connected to his children? And when Moshe broke the luchas, Hashem turns to him and says, Yasher Koach Sheshibarta. Thank you for breaking my luchas. And when the Jewish people hear those words, Klal Yisrael screams out, Chazak, Chazak, v'nis chazek. Because for this you need a lot of strength. You need a lot of strength because everyone around Moshe couldn't understand him. The tzaddikim around Moshe said, Moshe? Moshe? You? This is the Messiah that we taught you? Hast du doch gehadert mit Tates und Seides? Du bist der Einikel von this one and that one and that one and that one. At your mitzvah times that went till 5 in the morning. They spoke about ehrliche, deures, jüdische Kinder. This is what it all came to. Your brother-in-law looks at you and says, your father-in-law looks at you, your older brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunt, your zayda, your baba, your Rosh HaKol, your rabbi, your maggid, your batchin, your therapist, your doctor. You crazy? These are chetei ha'ego. God says destroy them, out. You have Baruch Hashem 12 kids, one is gone. You have 11 beautiful kids. But when Hashem saw that Moshe broke the luchas, this became the peak, the greatest achievement of Moshe's life. Yasher Koach Sheshibarta, and Rashi chooses that word to be the final climax of the entire Torah. Why? Because in the ability to break that which meant everything to him and remained everything to him, Moshe's true character comes out. Who is Moshe at his core? He is Roye Yisrael. He's a shepherd of the Jewish people. Ultimately, Moshe will give up everything, including his core, to save his children. And when God sees that, he says, thank you. Yasher Koach Sheshibarta. For this I say to you, thank you. So I come here tonight, and although I'm an individual, but by Jewish people there's no individuals. Everyone is interconnected. Kol Yisrael, HaRavim zebazeh, types the Baal Shem Tov. HaRavim means Miloshen Taruvus. Yidden seinen vermischt eine mit der andere. HaRavim Miloshen Mesikus, sweetness, Arev. Kol Yisrael, HaRavim zebazeh, Yidden seinen Sis eine dem anderen. Und der Riber, Kol Yisrael, HaRavim zebazeh, Jews are responsible eine for the andere. Same types, but with a twist. Twisted parenting. The reason we're responsible is not out of guilt. If you don't help another Jew, you're going to burn. No, because we're integrated, we're one. And that's why we're sweet to each other. So even though I'm an individual, and we're all individuals, but we're not individuals. So on behalf of the Jewish people, on behalf of Torah, and on behalf of what Hashem revealed through the Torah, and through Avodah Vanavim in every generation, I turn to each and every one of you sitting here tonight, and I say three words. Yasher Koach Sheshibarta. Followed by the three words of Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazek. And some of us know how difficult it is. And let me say something else. Those who don't experience what you experience will never understand. They may be good surgeons, but they're not pilots. They'll give you eitzes, mehoidu vat kush, sheva ve'esim ameya eitzes. Because surgeons always have eitzes. Pilots are quiet. Before they get eitzes, be quiet for a few minutes. A woman once told me, she says every day she meets somebody, Borough Park, they have zgulas what to do for her kids. Go 40 days here, 40 days there, 40 days to Japan, 40 days here, whatever. Say this, say that, zgulas. So she told me, I want to tell you a story that I told one of the people. Oh, a woman and her husband were talking to me. And she says, there was a big makubal who came to town. Makubal bowl a year. And there was this guy who had a magefa in his farm. His chickens were dying. So he came to the makubal and says, Rebbe, you got to save me. I need a sgula. 100 chickens died last night. The makubal says, do you have leftover your Yerushalmi kugel from Shabbos? He said, of course. It's feed all the chickens kugel. How is kugel going to help? He said, it's a kabbalistic sgula. He feeds the chickens kugel. The next night, another 100 chickens. Zechroinam levracha yizgadal v'yizgadal. He runs and says, I need another sgula. Makubal says, do you have any chaluptzas left over from Shabbos? For those who are not Hungarian, that's stuffed cabbage, which Hungarians think are delicious. He says, of course I have chaluptzas. Just feed the chicken chaluptzas. Feeds them chaluptzas, l'shem yichud, l'shebrichu, l'shchinte. Next night, 100 chickens are dead. Runs to the guy, he says, I need another sgula. He says, babka, do you have any babka cake left? Of course. Feed them babka cake. Next night, another 100 chickens, dead. He runs to him because he says, Rebbe, it's great, I'm going to lose all my chickens. Do you have any other sgulas for me? I need a new sgula. He looks at him, I have to say it in Yiddish, he says, how's a kind of Yid? Sgulas habe chasach. The shaila is biful chickens, husband. I got endless sgulas. Don't worry, as long as you pay, I have sgulas galore. How many chickens do you have to play with? Often people mean well, but they're clueless. They just don't get it. They don't understand. They don't understand what a mother goes through. They don't understand what a father goes through. They don't know what Shabbos looks like, what Yom Tov looks like. They don't know what it means that a mother at 4 o'clock in the morning who's nursing a baby can't fall asleep. The 1 hour that the baby gave her to sleep, he decided to go to sleep from 3 to 4 in the morning, but she can't sleep because one of her boys is out. And she doesn't know if there's going to be a telephone call and what type of telephone call. In the morning you go to the supermarket You have a good friend, Ayachna. She means well, but she doesn't get it. Lucky her. She doesn't get it. She may be a great surgeon. You come home, you're aggravated, you let it out at your husband because of that Yachna in the store, and you have to work together and understand there are very few pilots in this world. There are a lot of experts in this world, but very few pilots in this world. And a surgeon may be an expert, but he's completely not a pilot. You know, I want to take it one step deeper. The Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos, Daf Pei Tes Amud Beis, that there's a pasuk in Amar Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani, Amar Reb Yonis, and there's a pasuk in Yeshaya, Kapitel Samach Gimel. When Mashiach comes, the Jewish people are going to say, Avraham lo yodanu, Yisrael lo yakirenu, ki ata avinu. Avraham doesn't know who we are. Yaakov doesn't recognize us. You, Yitzchak, you're our father. Frag the Gemara, why? Avraham doesn't know you, Yaakov doesn't know you. Zog the Gemara, when Mashiach comes, Hashem is going to come to Avraham Avinu and he's going to say two words. You want me to bring the Geula to these people? Banecha chatu. Your kids sinned. So Avraham Avinu, like your father used to say when the principal called up, you remember? Your kid made trouble, give him a flask. Give him a flask. You want me, I'll do it. Avraham will say, they sinned? God, it's your problem, it's not mine. Punish them. Punish them. We bring them to school, so you should be the babysitter. Don't call me up to complain. Punish them. So Hashem says, no, Avraham didn't raise children. Yaakov raised children. Probably he'll respond differently. So he tells Yaakov, it's like Gemara, Banecha chatu, your children sinned. Yaakov said, was willst du? Punish them. So Hashem says, I quote, Loi besavi taime v'loi bedardiki eitza. It's pointless to go to the Zayda and the grandson. They don't have any advice for me. I'm going to go to Yitzchak. So he goes to Yitzchak and he says, Yitzchakul, Bonecha chatu, deine Kinder haben gesündigt, your children sinned. Yitzchak looks at Hashem and says, excuse-moi? Ribono shalayla, bonai v'loi bonecha? What's this? Hashem tells him, your children sin. They're my children, they're not your children. It's like when your husband calls you. Could you come home to take care of your kids? You ever got that? Your kids, don't laugh too loud, women. Your kids are crazy rowdy. Could you take care of your kids? And what do you tell your husband on Ishak Sheder? They're not your kids. You made a contribution and now you're in Hawaii. They're not your kids, they're my kids. The chutzpah. But Yitzchak wasn't over with God yet. He was giving it to him. By Matan Torah they said Nasa v'nishma, you call them B'ni B'chayri Yisrael. Meine Kinder. And now they said, Banecha, I don't know them. I don't even know their names. Yitzchak says, what's this expression? Banecha chatu. Banecha, your children. You're like, whoa, not bad. And then he's not finished. He says, God, I'm not done yet. Now let's go to your time that they sinned. Kama chatu. How much did they sin? I want to know. A person lives 70 years. Yitzchak says. Half the time is night, they're sleeping. Half the time people are asleep. By night and during speeches. For Jews, it's half the time. It's half of their life, no question. Shiurim, speeches, sermons, presentations, classes, and then, of course, nighttime. So Yitzchak says, Dol Palga. 70 becomes, how much are we left with? 35. Then Yitzchak says, let's go further. Till 20, Till 20, people are clueless. Till 20, nobody knows what hit them. Even after 20, most people don't know what hit them. But till 20, a bunch of babies, clueless babies. You can't punish them. So from 70, you went down to 20, is 50. You took off half for the night, is 25. You left with 25 years. Yitzchak continues. Half of that time, they're either eating or in the bathroom. Which is true by Jews. Either they're eating, or they're dealing with what happens after you eat. Especially with carbs. Says my Hagos on the Gemara, Yitzchak didn't get into carbs. But, so what are you left with? 12 and a half years. He says, God, over 12 and a half years, gehst du machen a ganze Meise. Im ato soive loi som toiv, im lav, palga alai, palga alach. If you want to take the bill and deal with it, good. If not, I'll cover half the bill. You half, me half. V'im lav, kula alai. If you want, it's all on the house. I'll do. You know why? I already sacrificed my soul to you. I'm good. So when Mashiach comes, they're going to look at Avram, and they're going to say, Avram lo yadanu, he doesn't know us. Yisrael doesn't recognize us. Yitzchak, kiyato avinu. You're a father. You behave like a father. I asked you tonight a question. Avram couldn't tell God this response. My kids, not your kids. Avram didn't know the pasuk b'ni b'chayri Yisrael. Only Yitzchak knew it. Yaakov couldn't say this. Fakert. Avram is which midas hachesed. Yaakov is midas harachem. Yitzchak is midas hagvura. Yitzchak is the strict father. Yitzchak is din. Yitzchak is discipline. Yitzchak is, there are rules in this house. If you don't keep the rules, out. We're not twisted in this house. We have a tradition. Yitzchak, Yaakov Adinas Ahar. Suddenly Yitzchak speaks to God and says, excuse me, stop preaching to me that your kids sin. Your kids sin. And besides that, it's all on me. Why Yitzchak? Vosepis. So there's a sefer, it's called Divrei Meir, from Reb Meir of Primishlan. Whoops. One of the great Hasidic masters, the Rebbe Reb Meir of Primishlan, has a sefer Divrei Meir. He asks a question. And he gives a little answer. 3-4 lines. Why Yitzchak? What was the uniqueness of Yitzchak? When I saw it this week, I have to say I was like, whoop, wow. I get the emails from Avi, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning. I used to write back to him. I get them live because I'm also up a lot. I say, try to get some sleep. But this Divrei Meir, so every day we get some other line, statement, insight, story. But I saw this in the Divrei Meir, Reb Meir of Primishlan. This is what he says. But I want you should appreciate what he's saying. Reb Meir Primishlan says these words. Yitzchak had one thing that the other ones didn't have. Vayehav Yitzchak es Esav kitzayid b'fiv. And everybody says, why did he love him? Why did he love him? So we have all these explanations because he used to feed him. No, for Yitzchak, the appetite was stronger than the mind and the heart. So Rashi says, Tzayid, he trapped him. Yitzchak was gullible, he was naive. Ketzad ma'asmes hamelech v'sateven. Tate, how do you give meiser from an iPhone? If you buy 10 iPhones, how do you give meiser? You give truma, bikurim. And Yitzchak was like, wow. Wow, must have finished Shas. Really? But suddenly, later you say, Hakol kol Yaakov ayadayim lidei Esav. Zak Rashi, Esav doesn't mention God's name. I thought you thought Esav was holy. And then Esav marries two women, Yehudis and Basmas. They both worship Avodah Zarah. And Yitzchak is horribly upset. Why did this tzaddik Esav marry women who worship Avodah Zarah? And besides, that's how you manipulate a tzaddik? You ask him a stupid question, how you give maisa from salt? And he's like, wow, you're so holy. Vayev Yitzchak es Esav. Why did he love him? You know why he loved him? You know why he loved him? He loved him because that's what fathers do. Fathers love their children. And fathers and mothers love their children unconditionally. This doesn't mean they're not pained by their children. This doesn't mean they always agree with their children's behavior. This doesn't mean they don't weep because of what their children are going through. But just because one observes behavior that is so painful to observe, it never breaks the love. A father never disowns a child. A father and a mother know, this is my child. I don't disown you. I don't throw you out of my life. I don't throw you out of my house. Esav will remain here because he's my child. So when the Rebbeinu Shalom comes and tells Avraham and Yaakov, your children sinned, they're like, punish them. When he tells Yitzchak, your children sinned, Yitzchak says, Bonai, v'loi bonecha, suddenly they're not your children? Power go alive, put it on me. Lemons and chayes from here. I have an Esav in my house. What did I do? I said you're not my child. I'm not your father. I did that. I'm a basam adam. You're God. I didn't tell Esav you're not my child. I said you're my child. You're forever my child. Even if your shidduch hurts me. And even if I know that you sold the birthright. And even if I know Ein Shamayim Shogah B'ficha. And this is before Matan Torah. Before Ata V'chartona Mikol Ha'amim. I never said, he's not my child. Rebbeinu Shalom, don't say, your child. They're your children as well. And Hashem says, that's how a father speaks. So the Jewish people look at Yisrael, they say, Ki ata avinu. You're a father, you're a mother. And then he tells a story, the Be'er Mayim Chayim, Reb Chaim Chernovitzer, had a son who was Yotzel Atarbus Ra. He left the path of Yiddishkeit. And those days, you threw the kid out and you did Kriya and you sat Shiva. Even for less than that, even if you became a chassid. If you were in certain places in Lithuania and you became a chassid, you also sat Shiva. You did Kriya, sat Shiva. The Rebbeinu Chaim kept him in the house, supported him, nurtured him, and loved him. And the Divrei Meir Mishlana writes that every morning before Shacharis, the Rebbeinu Chaim, before he started to daven, he would speak to Hashem and he would say, I want you to learn from me how to treat a child. Learn from me what a father is. Look at me, learn from me what a father is. Says Reb Meir Mishlana, Vayev Yitzchak es Esav ki tzayid b'fiv. This gave him the greatest argument in his mouth. La'asid lavoi, ki tzayid b'fiv. He's the only one who could speak up to God and say, don't tell me, bonecha chat. If you want to go one step deeper, let's go one step deeper. And here is a little diuk, 2 words from the Balatanya in Torah, half of a fella. Yitzchak tells Esav, go bring me food, and I'll bless you before I die. Rivka repeats it to Yaakov, and she says, I heard your father tell Esav, I'm going to bring you food, bring me food. Va'avarechecha lifnei Hashem, lifnei Moisei. I'm going to bless you before Hashem. Rivka added 2 words that Yitzchak never said to Esav. Lifnei Hashem. Why did she add them? She never heard that from her husband. She told them to Yaakov, Va'avarechecha lifnei Hashem. So the Balatanya says, and the truth is, that the following in a regular crowd would need, I'm telling you, a 2.5 hour introduction. Here, this crowd I could skip the introduction because when people experience something, they don't need the mathematics of it. When people don't have the experience, they need the cheshbon, the rayim, the vordim, the this, the that. When people are in it, they see it. So therefore, I think I could convey his point the way I understood it, without all the long hesbadim and mashal. It's a complicated thing in Teres HaNister. I'm going to get to the Nakuda. Balatanya says Yitzchak wasn't naive. Esav had a tremendous kedusha in him, but his kedusha is what's called in Pnimius HaTorah and Chassidus, it's called makif. It wasn't integrated. It wasn't part of his conscious self. When Esav looked at himself in the mirror, he said, I'm a Rasha. I'm ruined. I'm the molested one. I'm the one who's out of the system. I'm a reject. I'm retarded. I'm not interested. I don't care. I don't even know why I'm alive. He says it clearly. What does he tell Yaakov? Why is he selling his birthright? I don't know when I'm going to die. A little kid, 15 years old. I don't know. What, you're 15 years old. You don't know when you're going to die? Yeah, I don't know. I don't care, and I don't know. Lama li b'choyre. I need a b'choyre. What do I need for the mitzvah tans? I'm not the type. I'm not getting married. I'm not building a family. I'm not having children. I'm not part of your nachas club. When Bubby tells me, Nee, how you doing? I'm not part of this. I'm not part of this. I'm in a different direction. I don't even know if I'm going to see you guys in a few years. I'm 50, going on 99. That's Esau. Yitzchak didn't know his son. Of course he knew his son. But Yitzchak knew that his son has a tremendous holiness in him. But his holiness is what's called makif, meaning it's on a super conscious level. It's not integrated into a system. He himself is unaware of it. Sadly, there's a dichotomy in Esav. Reisha de Esav, be'itva de Yitzchak. The head of Esav is buried where? In the cave of Yitzchak. It's one with Yitzchak. The body of Esav is detached from his head. Esav fools himself more than anybody else. Esav thinks he's the epitome of unholiness. That's what he sees. On a deeper level, he is completely sacred and divine, and that's why he tells his father, Ketzad ma'asrinas hamelech v'esateva. It's not a lie. Once in a while, his idealism bursts out, and he's like, Tata, how do you give Maisa from salt? It's like some of the children you know too well will sometimes ask you a question, and you're like, wow, such sensitivity, such spirituality. An hour later, it's all done. It's all finished. That's unbelievable. Ketzad Ma'asher wasn't a lie. It was the pnimius, the deepest unconscious core of Esau. Yitzchak knew this, he saw this, and he always wanted to connect the two. Heal this child, make him wholesome. Yaakov was ishtam, and Esau was broken, he was fragmented. His head and his body, his super self, his super conscious, and the conscious self was split. But here's the deal. How do you get to that place in Esau? How do you get? You see, in Kedusha, in Yaakov, Kedusha is integrated. Godliness is integrated. Because it's integrated, it's within structures. It's oiris b'kelim, it comes into his life. By Esau, the Kedusha is not integrated. It remains super conscious, and therefore it remains infinite. It transcends his character. It transcends his structure. It remains completely bligvul, infinite, ein sof. What's called in Lashon HaNister, makif, completely transcending any vessels. It doesn't come into containers. How do you get there? So Rivka tells Yaakov, Yitzchak said to Esau, V'avarechecha lifnei Hashem. What's lifnei Hashem? Lifnei means before. We have to go to a place that precedes Yud-Kei Vov-Kei. Yud-Kei Vov-Kei is the way Hashem comes in to Oisius, to Spheres, to Koach. There's a Yud, there's a Hey, there's a Vav, there's a Hey. There's something called Lifnei Hashem. Lifnei Hashem means Hashem in his essence is beyond structure, beyond Kalim, beyond finiteness. If we want to get to Esav, We have to go to a place of Lifnei Hashem. Yitzchak couldn't tell this to Esav. He would never understand what he's talking about. Rivka explained to Yaakov what's going on. Va'avarechecha Lifnei Hashem. Yitzchak therefore has to find that place in himself. And if he could find that place in himself, he can touch Esav's heart. What does this mean, my dearest friends? It means this. I'm going to try to say it pretty bluntly, and I hope you get the nekuda, because this could come out sometimes misconstrued. The religious world today worships often, not everybody, but we often get stuck in a God of structure. What's pshat on Erlich Yid? A Jew who lives a structured life according to halacha. These children break down every structure. Thank you. They challenge every structure. If I want to touch their kedusha, I have to go inside of myself to a place that's lifnei Hashem. Let's face it. We grew up a certain way. Shabbos looks a certain way, Yom Tov looks a certain way. Aner L'chiyid wakes up at a certain time. I once heard a father speaking to his son. He says, learn from me. 5 o'clock I'm in the morning up, exercising. 6 o'clock daf yomi. 7:30 I'm after Shachris with a shear. 8 o'clock I'm at my desk. 3:45 I'm after Ma'ariv. What a life. He has vacation from God till the next morning was sick. What a pleasure. And the kid looks at him, I'm like, what a stupid life. I wake up, I plug. When you finish Ma'ariv, I wake up. Where's the Judaism here? We're not used to this. You destroy my home. You destroy my family. You go to the morning yeshiva, you learn. At 19, you go to your shidduch. We marry you off. That's what we do. We hatch you, we match you, and we dispatch you. And these kids come, and they challenge everything you know. The whole world gets shaken up. And you know what they do? They force you to reinvent yourself every day. You can't take anything for granted. You cannot afford to worship the God of structure. You have to worship the God who has no image, who has no model, who doesn't look a certain way. There comes a point where you have to stop worshiping the God that we're so familiar with. Because if you want to touch the soul of a child whose kedusha is infinite, you have to become infinite. To become infinite means everything I'm familiar with, I have to say goodbye to. That's painful. Esav brought out in Yitzchak and Rivka the best and the greatest and the deepest. A lot of your family members would look at you and say, you're being mafkir your Judaism. You're being mafkir your mishpacha. It's not what Hashem wants. But deep down in your heart you know, that this child is allowing you to connect to a Judaism that is really divine. It has not a trace of judgmentalism in it. It has not a trace of idolatry in it. It has not a trace of ulterior motives in it. Let's face it, a lot of our Judaism has become what my neighbor is going to say, which shidduch I'm going to get for my kids, which school they're going to go to, which seminary, what the shvigya, what the mama, the mitzvahs, the batche, the shatche. The main thing is the family should look perfect. Because as you know, we are a community that is perfect. Did you know that, women? We are impeccable. We are flawless. In our communities, in our schools, in our homes, there's no abuse, there's no molestation, there's no pain, there's no rejection. Everybody is perfect. And if you think otherwise, we'll make sure to dress up even better. And friends, these children challenge and help their parents and their loved ones grow infinitely. Stop worshiping a God of structure and go to a place that is Lifnei Hashem, beyond Yudke Vavke. Now, going out of that structure is painful. It means you have to reinvent yourself every day, but it means you have to serve God every day new, fresh. These children never allow you to serve the God of yesterday. They never even allow you to serve the God of an hour ago. They challenge you to serve Hashem right now in this moment. Because with these children, there's never a question. Am I successful or am I not successful? Are they success stories or failure stories? That's never the question. The question is always, am I doing what Hashem wants me to do for this child right now, or am I not doing? Nobody knows what success looks like. Were Remy and Rivki Klein successful with their dear daughter? Does anybody know? Does anybody know what success is in the world of souls? Does anybody know? Does anybody understand that in the aftermath of this devastating tragedy, hearts were opened, a paradigm shift was created, consciousnesses were transformed, people, principals, teachers, educators, rabbonim, mechanchim, sheshivas, mashgichim, mashpiyah, who give me musar day in and day out. People who would send me emails, you are single-handedly responsible for the destruction of Klal Yisrael, together with Avi Fishoff. And I wrote back to them, I'd rather go to Gehenna with Avi Fishoff than with you and Gehenna. You know why? I promise you, in his Gehenna, I'm going to find the Rebbeinu Shalom. In your Gan Eden, I'm not sure what I'm going to find. I'll find a big ego. I'll find a lot of arrogance. And you know what? Ich vergin there. Ich vergin there. But if the definition of God is truth, then sometimes you'll find them in the least expected places. Matzasi David Avdi, says the Medrash, Heicha Matzasi, B'Sdoim. Sometimes when you're looking for David Avdi, when you're looking for Mashiach, when you're looking for redemption, you go to the least expected places. That's where you'll find unadulterated love. That's where you will find unadulterated Yiddishkeit. That's where you will find unadulterated Avos Yisrael. That's where you will find the truth of Hashem, the truth of Yiddishkeit, the core of commitment, the core of Mesiras Nefesh. Yasher Koach Sheshibarta, Heicha Matzasi. You're not going to find David Avdi always in the expected places. The least expected place is B'Sdoim. Lot and his daughters who did not spend the night learning Daf Yomi, or Mishnah Brura, or even Chakli Yisrael, or even the Sibas Shalom. They spent the night doing something else. And somehow, from the most unexpected places, the Rebbeinu Shalom extracts infinite lights that the world wouldn't be ready for if it would go through regular passageways. And I say something. One day, the whole Klal Yisrael is going to look at these children and thank them. And I'll tell you why. For many generations and years, our community dealt with problems by covering things up. That was our belief. You remember Hollywood kitchens and wall-to-wall carpets. Why did everybody need wall-to-wall carpets? Because when everything has to go under the carpet, you need a big carpet. Everything went under the carpet. I'm not analyzing reasons, and I'm really not judging anybody. The fact that our parents and grandparents came out of a Holocaust and rebuilt families and communities and gave their children whatever they got is one of the greatest miracles, if not the greatest, of Jewish history. This is not a place of dissecting or judging Chalil. But let's face it, these kids are these kids, as you know, I don't have to tell this to you, and Avi shares this probably almost every seminar, are the most spiritual, the most sensitive, the brightest, the most refined, the most kind. Isn't that strange? Because these souls are allergic to toxicity, allergic to poison, allergic to lies, allergic to deception, and allergic to dishonesty, dysfunctionality, and corruption, and abuse. When you have such great souls, they can't live with toxicity. They spit it out. And they spit out the system in which they have seen so much misunderstanding and so much pain. If they would be smaller souls, they would let it fly. Like many of us. We let things fly. Okay, sure. But when you have great souls, Geula souls, Mashiach souls, big souls, they need truth. They need honesty. They need the real thing. They challenge us to reinvent ourselves as true Jews, as true ambassadors of the Ribono Shel Olam. We can't take anything for granted. Every morning when we wake up, it's like, God, fasten my seatbelt and let's have a good journey today. And I know it's going to be fast and wicked and intense and powerful, but we're going to go. And we're going to give it all we got. They are allowing the Jewish people to discover Lifnei Hashem, to discover the light of Mashiach, to discover the light of Geula, to discover the light of truth, to discover a Judaism that is not narrow, not judgmental, to discover a Judaism that will stop tolerating abuse, that will stop tolerating schools, yeshivas, homes, communities, shuls, teachers, educators, therapists, or people who delegitimize, who reject, who crush, who destroy, who insult, who denigrate, and who cover up others who denigrate. Challenge us to be able to open our eyes, to be able to expand our horizons, to be able to live infinitely, to be able to touch the infinity within these children, by touching the infinity within ourselves. I don't know. Some rabbis know the reasons for everything. You know that. They get up and they tell you why things happen. And it's usually the women's fault. Any speech that I hear, it's the women's fault. I always tell these guys, it's a mazel the women, I'm not talking. I don't know why things happen, I'm sorry. I'm from the few people who know almost nothing. I don't even know how you play a stupid football game. I certainly don't know why things happen. I don't know why certain parents go through things that other people don't even fathom. I don't understand. I don't know the journey of souls. I don't understand the journey of children. I don't understand the journey of parents. What I do know is that when the Gemara says in the Masechta Shabbos that when Mashiach comes, the Jews are going to look at Avraham and say, he didn't know us. They're going to look at Yitzchak and they're going to look at Yaakov and say, he didn't recognize us. They're going to look at Yitzchak and say 3 words, Ki ata avinu. You are our father. You're our father and our mother. You know why? Because in a moment of deep, deep disappointment and frustration, when the Ribono Shel Olam, not the Rav, the Ribono Shel Olam said, Banecha chatu, your kids sinned. You turned back to Hashem and said, don't you dare call them my kids. They're your children. Don't forget that. So they're going to look at Yitzchak and say, Ki ata avinu. May I say, based on this Gemara, that when Mashiach comes b'meiru b'yameinu, which parents are going to be the first ones to be makabel his ponim, and to usher in Klal Yisrael to redemption. The Gemara said it's going to be Yitzchak as a parent, not Avram and not Yaakov. I say it's going to be the parents upon whom all the children will be able to point and say, Ki ata avinu, ki ata imenu. You were a father, you were a mother. You taught Kevayachal Hashem what it is to be a father, what it is to be a mother. Those kids who cause sleepless nights, sometimes for years and decades. And we hope those sleepless nights end very speedily in our days. But when they emerge, they look at each and every one of you, as some of you know very well, and they say 3 words, Ki ata avinu. You are a father. You are a mother. And therefore, I think tonight is a night when 3 words have to be uttered. 3 words to each and every one of you. The 3 words that Hashem uttered to Moshe Rabbeinu. Yasher, Koach, Sheshibarta. Thank you for having the courage and the love to break so many precious and priceless things in order to embrace your children and Hashem's children. Thank you very much.